I thought that would be a good cold open, and that just kind of fell flat and went nowhere. So we're recording now, but
You should just open with that.
what? Yeah.
You
I thought
saying
that would be a good cold open and fell flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the sit down. This is today. Our guest is the host of the Don't Tell Mom podcast. She's someone that actually we've never really hung out. We became friends in lockdown. I guess we did each other's podcasts. I would send her DMs at like 4 a.m, and I would be like, "You're really funny." No, that
Super
didn't happen.
creepy.
Yeah, but we have become pretty good friends through in the past couple months. It's Hanna Dickinson, everybody. How's it going, Hanna?
I'm all right. I'm nervous about the state tomorrow. I already picked out my outfit, but I texted him
Now
that
fill in the listeners because we were chatting off mic before the show. You have a date tomorrow. You have a date tomorrow with a boy.
I have a date tomorrow night who DM'd me on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
But I'm nervous about it because he's good looking and he's a year younger than me. And I spoke to an astrologist and he said I was going to date an older man. So this is like, I feel like this is going nowhere. It's a waste of time.
An astrologist said you should date an older man?
He said I'm going to marry an older guy.
Oh, okay. Listen, we're not going to talk about any retarded girl shit on today's episode.
Yeah, okay, well, you asked me what's going on, and that's what's fucking going on. That's what's fucking going on.
Hey,
so what do you want? You want me to be like, oh, just pop the brewski, just have a Bud Heavy. Like, what do you want to talk about? That's guy shit. I don't have a fantasy football team.
I don't have a fantasy football team either. We're talking about state-sponsored murders today on the show.
Fair enough.
This is the Retard Girls podcast. We're retarded and we're girls.
Please.
and I have a date with a very tall man, and I'm kind of nervous about it because my one of the astrologists that I pay money to. Wait a minute, so because you tweet about this a lot, how much money do you spend on astrology? Yeah.
I would argue $100 a month.
That's not too bad.
It's not too bad, but it's only been the past. So I've spent $300, but I'm gonna stop because it's like they're all kind of giving me different things, and like ultimately, it's my personality that's really lagging behind apparently. So
yeah, we all have our stupid shit that we spend money on,
Yeah, I just wish it was like gambling or something that I could maybe make a profit. With astrology, it's like there's really no hope here.
Yeah.
Are you texting mid-podcast?
No, I'm starting up a timer just so I know where we are.
Wow.
When you do a Zoom meeting, it starts from the start of the meeting, and we had some nice little banter before that no one's going to get to hear.
But not good enough. Not good enough for the pod.
I didn't think it was good enough. I thought that would go somewhere, but.
Now I'm texting.
Sweet. Well, welcome to the No One Gives a Shit podcast where you're.
Is this for your Patreon
host?
or for your regular?
This
podcast?
is regular, baby. This is the real deal. This is the big leagues. This is 1,500 listeners a month, an episode. Real show.
Listeners?
Just kidding. No, we do more than that. But it's less than it has been, but we've gotten upwards of 7, maybe upwards of 20,000
You sound like you're trying to
downloads.
sell the length of your dick right now. You're like, it's not that bad. It's like fine.
No, the length of my dick is fine. It's just its ability to function.
What is that with male comics? Did your parents get divorced at a young age?
No, they're still together. Yeah. What, you think that causes it?
Well, guys, every time they can't get hard, they're like, sorry, my parents got divorced when I was 7.
Oh, they do that?
Get over it. I don't know. Guys love to complain about their parents' divorce.
So funny. My parents are still together, but I did complain about my parents on an episode that they listened to, and then my mom saw me and she was like, oh, because we never went on vacation together as a family.
I think you said that to me.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or maybe you say it a lot. You're like,
maybe.
You're like, didn't go to the Bahamas when you were 15.
Well, then my parents definitely heard you talk about all your holes.
Hopefully other people did too. Not receiving DMs from your fans.
Yeah, sorry. They all have families. I haven't felt funny in a while. I don't know what you're doing if you're getting out there, if you're doing spots, but I don't know, a little rusty, I guess. But we're gonna get back into it with an episode that I've wanted to do for a while. So I think it's better. I kind of like visiting like recent history, you know, and I think it's when you look at what's going on now, it's very hard to tell who like it's it's easier to look at the world like 3 years later to figure out what's really going on. But I do want to talk about conspiracy stuff a little bit because we're gonna talk because I want to talk generally about conspiracy theories because there are a lot of conspiracy theories developing right now with QAnon people and with all these different things about the virus and whatnot. But I want to visit an old one. But before I start, do you have any? Are there any conspiracy theories that you've fallen victim to or that you've gotten really into?
So Loose Change, the YouTube video about 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, I dated a guy who was like convinced it was real.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home and watched it because I wanted him to like me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched
The things we do for guys, huh?
Yeah, right. I once watched a documentary on an artist. The guy from the Hamptons. I watched a documentary on an artist before I saw him. I'm always watching documentaries for dudes.
For guys,
if I'm watching like I'm never voluntarily watching a documentary. And so I watched like 20 minutes of Loose Change, and I was like, okay, so the guy went out with his fully insane.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think 9/11 was an inside job, but like he was so convinced that like for the hour we went out, and he was hot, so like for the hour we went out, I was convinced 9/11 was an inside job.
Right.
I also think I do believe in Pizzagate a little bit after the Jeffrey Epstein shit.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like people who are sort of anti-conspiracy are always like, "Oh, really? You really think that the top people in our government and the entertainment business are just doing all this stuff in secret?" And it's like, yeah, what else do you? I have like an extra $1,000 in my checking account, and I'm starting to get bored. You know, I'm starting to look for stuff.
Really? Because I donated $100 to your wedding fund. So can I have that back then?
No, it's going towards my honeymoon.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're gonna talk about the savings account, you're gonna brag about it.
No, I'm just saying I have a little extra cash right now, and I'm like, there's nothing to do with it. You know.
Mm.
So anyway.
So you're saying all these rich people are like their extra cash, they're just gonna fuck kids?
No, it's just like when you think about power and people who have power and stuff that you can get away with, I just think it's human nature to sort of like push the boundaries and, you know, and do so like sometimes there's this idea like I just think that people who are against these conspiracies have this sort of mentality that like everybody in charge is supposed to be there. Everything is like working out the way it should. And like, if you even suggest that there's any kind of, you know, abuse of power or whatever, that's preposterous and you're insane.
Yeah, of course. But like, yeah, it's like everyone has weird kinks or fetishes, you know what I mean? Or like weird desires.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, obviously, if you have more money, they're going to get weirder and weirder because you're able to do more.
Yeah.
Not saying that fucking kids is weird. It's like fully illegal and gross. But I think there's like this.
It's also a little weird. I mean, yeah, it's illegal and gross.
No, it is weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. What I'm saying, I'm saying that's not a fetish. That shouldn't be a fetish. That's illegal and gross and horrible. But what I'm saying is like when you get more money, it's like your vision of like what's possible gets a lot bigger. So you get weirder. So if you're already weird and you make a lot of money, you're gonna do weirder shit.
Right.
Because you can.
Right. Because you can get away with it, and you have people at your disposal who are gonna like. I heard a story one time about somebody like a friend of mine who's a comic told me this story, and he said that back in the 80s, Madonna would like drive around in her limo, and she would go to like poor neighborhoods. She would go to like impoverished neighborhoods, and she would fuck like teenage boys in her limo and like hand them money and then let them go. And it's like, now that's like, I don't know if that's true or not. And I just heard it from, you know, it's just something I heard from somebody, but
she's dating a 26-year-old now.
She is?
Yeah. And she's 60.
Yeah. So she's a pervert, which proves my theory that she's a fucking pervert. But
I've also heard that, so my friend was a model.
Mm-hmm.
he was a male model. Male models make a lot less than women. So if you would talk about equal pay gap, he would always be like, let's talk about the modeling industry.
Male porn stars too. It's a really tough go for those guys.
Yeah,
they're just doing it for the love of the game.
Yeah, exactly. But this guy I work with was saying that how male models make so much money is male celebrities will solicit them for sex and pay them a lot of money. So Brad Pitt, this is what I heard from my coworker, because his friend did it. He will do model casting calls, have them sign NDAs.
Brad Pitt would?
Yeah.
Or like now?
Yeah, this was like probably 5 years ago.
Uh-huh.
He would have them sign NDAs before he brought them into the hotel room, and they would line up, and then he would pick a model to fuck, and then he would pay them more money, and he would fuck them. So he'd pay each model like $500 to come in the hotel room so he could choose which one he wanted to fuck.
Yeah.
And then he would pay that guy like $10,000 to have sex with him.
What
and
a
not
life.
Say anything.
Yeah.
But then I heard this information, so I don't know. But I've also heard Brad Pitt's gay from like a lot of people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true, but it's just interesting that like there's this. That's a weird thing that he's like.
That would kind of make sense, wouldn't it?
What do you mean? That he's gay?
Yeah.
Because of his issues with relationships?
Just that he's like a very. This just becomes a gossip podcast. It just evolves into. We're just. No, but somebody who's like that, that good looking and who does that well. And he's like a relatively talented guy. I don't know. It's like Leo too. It's like there must be some that we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of these people. So I always like to think that there's just more like going on.
Yeah. Well, I've heard Leonardo Dicaprio, a lot of girls have had sex with him. I've only heard about women having sex with Leonardo DiCaprio, but he has sex with women with Beats headphones on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's just my podcast that he's listening to.
What up, dude, Leo? Imagine, I am available. I live in Tribeca.
Dude, imagine like I was at not to brag, but I was at an SNL after party one time, and he was there, and he was talking to Colin, and he's pretty unmistakable because his head is very big.
Yeah, but he's short.
Yeah. Is he short? I don't know if he's short. I don't think he's like average height.
Because you're short.
Don't be a cunt. He's
you're
average
short.
height.
That's why.
No.
I saw him on my way to work one day, and I go, Mom,
I'm 5'8". That's average height. 5'8's average height.
Oh, you're short. That's why. Yeah, okay. So he's average height. I'm using quotes for those who can't see. Anyway, continue.
Okay, but Leo's about 5. I would say Leo's about 5'9", 5'10", which is,
So he's short. Anyway, continue. He's definitely 5'8". Mm-hmm. Which isn't short. Fine, Mike. We will play that off.
No, you can say that. I don't care. You can say it's short.
I'm just saying he's shorter than I expected.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
Because your expectations are too high. You got to stop dating these tall guys that give you herpes.
No.
And find yourself a short king. Sorry.
Well, you did meet the short king in the Hamptons. You met him over Zoom.
Yeah.
And he dumped my ass. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Heartbreak.
So keep thinking 5'8" is short, Hannah, because guys over 6 feet are just going to give you herpes. Anyway, I had a whole episode. I had like a whole episode planned out, what was I going to say? So anyway, so the thing with Madonna, were we done talking about Leo and Brad Pitt?
Yeah, we are. I think.
Right.
I don't know. Well, no, you didn't finish your after party story.
Oh, so he was like talking to Colin. And Deb was like, I'm going to go say hi. Because Deb like acts like she's not afraid of anything. Like she's not afraid of a lot of things that the average person is afraid of. But she was like, I'm just going to go over there and say hello. And then she like walked over and walked away. Like she couldn't do it. She was like too intimidated to say hi to Leo, which makes sense. But that would be so funny if you just meet him one day and he's like, dude, I got to tell you, man, I love your podcast. And you're like, really? You listen to my podcast? And he's like, yeah, I listen to it while I fuck models.
That's how I stay hard.
Just I love listening to some Italian guy talk about some Italian guy ramble off topic while I fuck 19-year-olds with my Beats headphones. You would think you'd have a better pair of headphones. I mean, they're not; those are nice, but
Maybe they're Sonos. They might be the Sonos ones. I don't know. They're the
yeah,
noise canceling for sure.
yeah. All right. Well, now that we did basically a 15-minute intro of this podcast, what I would like to do is what I want to say is I want to get back to the Madonna thing, and because whoever was driving Madonna to the ghetto to fuck teenage boys was doing it, and he was being paid money. So I wonder what
Do you
he had to be
believe that
paid.
though? Do you believe that's real?
Let's say it's real. Let's say it's real. Yeah, I kind of believe it's real, and also it's not as bad as like a man doing it. You
He
know,
did come out with Like a Virgin. You know what I mean?
imagine Billy Joel just being like, drive me to East New York, so he can have sex with Puerto Rican 15-year-olds. I mean, that would be bad.
But the thing is, guys
I mean,
could
those
just have sex. Like women.
yeah, those teenagers
She was
they were
driving
already.
Yeah, Madonna was driving to alleys, but in the 60s, Seinfeld was just, or not in the 60s, in the 80s,
In the
Seinfeld
90s.
was just 90s, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anytime before the 2000s is a blur to me.
Mhm.
But the 90s, Seinfeld was just openly dating a high schooler, but Madonna had to go to alleys.
Are you going to turn this into some feminist thing?
No, not on your podcast, because I know I never
Thanks.
work with your fans.
That's not true. They're pretty. We got some women who listen. But okay, okay. So all right. Yeah, we'll do a little plug. We'll do. You want to do a mid show plug?
No, I don't want to do a plug.
Hans Dickey on Instagram.
While talking about Madonna's sex with 16.
Okay, but the point that I'm trying to make is that whoever was driving her to do that was getting paid money. I don't know how much money, but I wonder how much money it was, because people because I think people are very easily bought and sold, and it's easy when especially if you have a family or something, to justify doing shit or covering things up for people. And that's why I think that if you are the fucking Queen of England and you have MI6 at your service, you might kill your daughter-in-law if you didn't like her.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the Princess Diana's death. Did you watch that video that I sent you?
I watched 5 minutes of it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And then Tori called me and we got busy. But the thing is, I do believe it was an inside job.
Perfect.
You don't?
No, I don't know what I believe. I think the best thing to do is just kind of go through the story with people.
I think that's why Meghan Markle and Harry moved. Mm-hmm. Because he believes it was an inside job and he wanted to get out of that environment.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's also easy to kill someone in the United States. It would be possible. Look at Jeffrey Epstein. I think Jeffrey Epstein was murdered by the royal family, but He
was murdered by the royal family?
I think so.
What evidence do you have for that?
The fact that Prince Andrew was like so clearly guilty.
Yeah.
And
but why the royal family and not like Hillary Clinton, who kills?
I think it was combined. Mm-hmm. I think it was like a lot of people, but I think Harry wanted to be disassociate publicly so that
mm-hmm.
It would. I don't know. That was my thought. Was obvious. I think he brought up his mother when they were like, "Why did you leave?"
Really?
I saw what happened to my mom. Yeah.
Really? Yeah,
he said that. He was like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but he didn't say it was an inside job, but he said it destroyed her and she was running from. He said it was an accident because she was running from. He didn't even say that. He was like, I saw what happened to my mom, but he didn't say
He's like, I saw what happened to my mom. She was sucking off Muslims. It drove her insane.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So I think, that's why they left. So I do believe it more.
Yeah. Yeah, there is sort of like a racial element to that because Princess Diana was her boyfriend was this guy Dodi Fayed. His father was like an Egyptian billionaire, and the father thought Muhammad was the father, and Muhammad thought that Diana might have been pregnant with his child, And his theory is that would have just been too much for the royals to handle, like the former princess of, the former like the idea that the future king of England would have an Egyptian Muslim stepfather. She was like, we can't, and then that's why she was sort of bumped off.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Because I also just like don't believe.
You shut the door. Thanks. Sorry.
Because also it was a car accident. You know what I mean? And it was like, I know paparazzi's like fuck up, but it's also very odd. You don't hear about that a lot.
What?
That paparazzi's like run someone off the road and murder them. Like that's a very like weird, aggressive way.
Well, I think the official account is like she was being chased by the paparazzi, and the driver was trying to get away from them, and then he crashed in the tunnel. The problem.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I just don't know if I buy that.
Yeah. So maybe what we can do is like, let me just go through. So basically what happened was they were in Paris. She was with her boyfriend. They had a driver. Their driver was this guy, Henri Paul, who apparently he was like 3 times over the legal limit of alcohol. There was a bodyguard in the car named Trevor Rees-Jones. He was badly injured. His face required multiple reconstructive surgeries, but he later wrote a book saying he was upset about all the conspiracy theories surrounding her death. But yeah, Dodi Fayed's father's official sort of like position is that they sort of orchestrated to have Diana and his son also killed. I mean, he was in the car as well. Now, I guess we can start with like kind of the most egregious thing about this is that there were 14. So they drove into this tunnel. I think it's called it's like something Ponta something. Ponta. I don't have it written down here, but you can Google that pretty easily. Anyway, there were 14 security cameras in the tunnel, and none of them were turned on. So there's no footage of the actual crash. It's like Pont de la Mac or something, yeah.
They were all turned off?
They were all turned off.
For how long?
There's just no footage of the crash. So, all right, I'm just going to go through this really quick since you didn't watch the video.
I didn't watch it.
That I sent you. It's all right. But there's just some other, I mean.
But no one else listening has watched it, so you're welcome. You should go over like the main key points here.
Yeah, my former co-host used to be like that. He'd be like, "Oh, so maybe like you can do the research and you can explain it to me."
Yeah, but I'm not a co-host. I'm a fucking guest.
That's true. And I did give you homework. And I hate when podcasts give me homework.
Yeah, you gave it to me also way too close.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, okay, so she also had a bodyguard that I'm not sure if it sounded like from the 12-minute video that I watched, it sounded like her and the bodyguard had an affair. And then he was dismissed from royal service, and then he died in a bicycle crash. And then there's a guy named, what was his name? Damn it. I had it written down. But anyway, there was a guy who said that he was like a former MI6 agent, and he said that MI6 does have the capability to stage accidents, and they can stage like helicopter crashes and car crashes. And then one of the tactics that they thought about using, this to take out the president of Serbia back in the 90s, was high-powered like flashes that could blind a driver. So there is a chance that when they drove into that's what they used on the motorcycles.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think Princess Diana like knew when so say this is real, right?
Yeah.
Do you think at what point of the chase do you think she knew this was like an inside job?
She had allegedly told her butler that she thought maybe they were trying to kill. I mean, and I think the guy's spoken on record. She also spoke on record that she was worried about them like tampering with her car or doing something to her brakes, because there was also she just had like a falling out with the royal family. She would talk about her divorce on TV, and like they didn't like that. So
I just like, so the Queen of England, so she was on this box of cookies.
Mm-hmm.
She's my grandfather's celebrity crush. My grandfather's 92.
Interesting.
And to me, I'm like, she looks so evil.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe because she's very old school, right? So, like, the fact that she didn't like Meghan Markle and, like, all this shit is, like...
Yeah.
It's really terrifying, because it's, like, this woman is probably straight up evil.
Yeah.
And the fact that you would maybe kill your grandkid's mother...
Yeah.
To have, like, a good reputation, but everyone loved Princess Diana.
Right. Right. Everyone loved her. And so like the motive of why she might do that is kind of unclear. But I also think it's like kind of a cop out to be like, oh, you don't believe those conspiracy theories, do you? Because there is a good amount of evidence. There was another guy, his name was, I'm blanking on this guy's name. But anyway, there was a guy who was like a former, so yeah, the guy, there was a former MI6 spy who thought that MI6 had something to do with that.
But I think that's always been known, right? Like, this isn't like a new thing. Like, it's always been known that Princess Diana was probably murdered. Because I thought so. Like, I feel like no one was like, oh, I remember growing up, what year did this happen in?
97.
And I remember it being so tragic and everything, but I remember people being suspicious immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I feel like growing up, I always remember people being like, I feel like this was murder.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. I thought that's why she got more famous, is because there was so much hype around it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Well, she was pretty famous. I mean, because I remember before her death, I mean, she was on TV a lot, and it was kind of a big deal, you know, when she got divorced, and then her speaking about the divorce, you know, the Queen was like mad about that. But there is...
why was she so mad? Because they shouldn't be speaking about divorce?
Yeah, it's just not what you do. You don't get divorced and you don't talk about it.
Well, why do you think Kate Middleton didn't leave Prince whatever when he cheated on her?
Yeah.
She's probably afraid of getting fucking murdered.
You think?
I mean, that would be in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my husband cheated on me, but what's the other option? I get fucking whacked?
Right. The Queen just sits her down and she's like, listen, dear, pussy's pussy, okay? Sometimes a man needs a little action on the side. Understand?
Do you think the Queen...
She starts quoting rap lyrics at her.
Do you think she still gets laid?
I don't know. I mean, Prince Philip is pretty old.
Oh, she's married, right?
Yeah, she's married to Prince Philip. Which that's pretty funny to be 97 years old and you're still a prince. Prince is like young guy, you know? There he is, the 104-year-old prince.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't whack the Queen. Would he move up?
No, because he's not like royal blood. She's royal blood. Which I think, I don't know. They're fucking weird over there.
I mean, anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, but it just doesn't seem like a very good. And then you have her son just running around the world with Jeffrey Epstein, fucking kids, and doing that interview. You know, they just seem like a very rotten.
How did she not whack him? I'm like, that interview was straight up.
Son, I guess because it's her son.
Mentally, he was I was like, no part of that interview was believable, and that's why part of me thinks that Princess Diana was fucking killed. That he was so confident he could go on an interview or he could go on a talk show and say he wasn't there.
Yeah. And I don't sweat. I was shot at in the Falklands War and I don't have an ability to sweat, so that wasn't me. But there is something kind of funny about like the I mean, I mean, I don't know if every English person ascribes to this, but there's something about, like a president where when someone's the president, you just be like, hey, fuck you, Obama, you suck, or you can like,
Yeah.
but there's like a lot more respect with the queen. I mean, like people really love the queen. The people who love the queen, like love the queen. People put a lot of, it seems like over there, I mean, they're sick and they're inbred and they eat beans for breakfast. I mean, they're weird people, but they have like a lot of faith. They put a lot of faith in these, and even like somebody like my mom, like she watched The Crown on Netflix and I was like, Mom, do you think the queen killed Princess Diana? And she was like, oh no, absolutely not. I don't think so. People have a lot of faith. And so I just feel like that kind of power would have to ultimately corrupt you to the point where you think you can do that.
Yeah, but I think also like in the era of Trump, it's like you see how delusional people are, and I think that's why this has brought it to the surface almost a little bit more because people are like, "Oh, we trust the people in power so much," but like, why are we trusting these people? In the sense of like people fully believe. Like, did you see that Fox News clip of the guy who was like, "I don't know if COVID's real." Like, yeah, I had a friend who died and his son almost died, but like that's only two people, and like you're watching the news and it's like it's not real, so it's probably not real. And it's like your friend died and his son almost died, and you're
Yeah.
still questioning this virus
Yeah.
because that's how deluded people are. And I feel like the queen and like that whole system is like people, it's brainwash, it's all brainwash.
Mm-hmm.
So there are people who obviously believe it, but I'm sure there are people who are like, this is all bullshit.
Yeah. It just feels like with Trump, people are kind of like, people like him because they're like, oh, he's just like me. And in a lot of ways, he kind of is. He's not. They don't see him as like an elite. They have more of a sort of a.
Because he's so
They
stupid,
see
he's not
themselves,
elite.
yeah, because he's stupid. He's stupid, and he just like doesn't know anything. But people see themselves in that. Where it's like there's something with the royal family where they're very like revered in a way. I mean, I remember a few years ago, um, Kate Middleton and Prince William came to New York and they like met LeBron James and and they like posed for a photo and LeBron James like put his hand on Kate Middleton and then there were like articles that came out. They were like, that's not, you don't do that. You don't touch the royals. Like it was like he's in there with them, taking a photo with them and he puts his arm around her like you would do when you're taking a photo with somebody. And I remember my mother being like, yeah, you don't touch the royals. That's just not something you do.
But we treat celebrities like that. Like people are like, oh my God, Beyonce was shopping at Target. And it's like,
Yeah.
don't move, like we
Yeah.
treat Beyonce like that when I
It
feel like
just seems like maybe they're more like revered. I don't know.
no, yeah, because yeah. But I do think it's all bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And people now are starting to question everything that everyone does.
Yeah.
So it's like less. I think I bet there will be an overthrow.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I feel like that's never really happened where someone is caught, like basically caught red-handed doing something like this.
You
But
mean
it could
Prince
have.
Andrew?
I mean, that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty. He's pretty red. But even that, it's like it just goes away. He just does the interview and then he hides for a little bit, and it goes away. It's like it's clear that this stuff happened, but it's like there's nothing we can do about it because we're too, I don't know, maybe we're too fragmented or whatever. It's never like I don't think we've seen anything in our lifetime where it's like, oh, we found the guys who killed JFK and they admitted to it. We found the people who orchestrated 9/11. Not saying that 9/11 was an inside job, but it does,
Oh, you're a 9/11 person who thinks
No, I think I could go either way on that one.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Why do you think it was an inside job?
I think we've talked about this before, but just the big thing for me is what is it? Fuck. What's the big thing for me?
Yeah, right? What's the big thing?
Well, Building 7 is the big one that just
didn't go. Wait, what's Building 7?
The other building that fucking fell over, that collapsed, that a plane didn't hit. And then
I guess
now you could argue that there was structural damage to the building. I mean, I can argue both sides of that, I think, equally as passionately. You could
But why
argue
would
that
why would America want that?
so we can go to war. And because war is profitable.
That's not a big enough argument for me.
The amount of people who make a lot of money.
The amount of damage it did to our economy and like everything. I'm like, it just no.
Yeah.
It didn't wait. There's no way.
Yeah. So there is a theory with conspiracy theories where it's like, because of people have a very hard time accepting that big events are very random. And so people look for like conspiratorial stuff. So like Princess Diana dying in a car crash is like kind of such a big deal that people go, oh, that had to be planned. 9/11 happening was so big that people are like, oh, there has to be more going on here. And sometimes like my non-conspiracy theory about 9/11, because there's interviews from architects being like, oh, we built that so that a plane could hit it. We built that building so a plane could hit it. But I just feel like maybe the building was just put up so like manufactured. I used to have a joke about this in my set, but maybe the building was put up so quickly and so cheaply that it wasn't built to code. It just fell more easily. And the reason that those buildings collapse on themselves is because it does less damage to the rest of the city for it, if it's going to come down. Theoretically, it's better for the building to fall in on itself than to topple over and take out like an entire city block or multiple city blocks.
Yeah, but that was built structurally. Like, that's a smart architect. I don't think an architect built that thinking that. Like for 9/11.
There is an interview. Well, in the one documentary that I watched, there is a guy talking, and he's like, we built those buildings to withstand the impact of a jet. Now, maybe they were designed that way, but maybe once they started building it, it didn't work because you had the mafia building everything.
God,
so you had shitty like Italian construction companies being like, yeah, it's just as good as steel.
I guess it's interesting how much we don't know. And like, I'm reading Jenny Slate's book right now called Little Weirds. My cousin had it on her bookshelf, so I just picked it up, but I'm not that far into it. But she had this quote, or she was talking about how like telling someone something that they don't know is a form of power because you're giving them information. So it's kind of like, and I never thought about it like that. Like, yeah, I do feel very powerless in these situations. Like, I really know nothing. So I could, like, I don't think 9/11 was an inside job, but I could be easily persuaded by 3 pieces of information. Like, 3 facts.
Right.
Like, even you being like Building 7, I'm like, I know Building 7, but I like always forget about that. But like, I also just, I don't know. I have a hard time.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know enough about like how it helped us how going to war has helped. Like, I don't know who profited. I don't know like the stats or numbers. So for me, I feel very powerless in that sense of like, I don't know enough information.
Right. And I don't know a lot of information either. And I think that, but I think people have to be like, people have to accept that no one really knows that much. You can't be like insecure about not knowing stuff. You got to just talk because nobody knows anything.
But what I'm saying is like, I'm very easy. Like, I could join a cult in like 5 minutes.
Right. But I mean, but it's like, it's not hard to understand that war is very profitable.
Yes, but it was not profitable enough for our whole, we suffered so much as a country. We suffered so much as a country from 9/11 and like from years, and like I have a hard time believing that like the 100 people who profited, let's be generous and say 100 people profited really well. That was enough for it to be an inside job.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't believe that. Like, did you ever see I believe it was called War Dogs with Jonah Hill?
No.
it was like they were making so much money off war because they were selling illegal
weapons,
and it was based off a true story. But I'm like, yeah, people like that profited, but they didn't. There's no way they had something to do with 9/11 because they were so stupid.
right?
They were like people who realized how much money you could make off war, and they started selling illegal shit. And it was based off a true story. But they both ended up being massage therapists because they were not that smart.
Right.
But I'm like, so those guys profited.
Oh, you say massage therapists are not that smart?
Whatever. Fuck you. Some are. Okay,
You're
whatever.
saying that.
I'm saying you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a massage therapist to know how to hit a good spot. Apparently, you do have to be a rocket scientist. Anyway, but
It was a nice little attempt.
It's like they made a lot off 9/11, but there's no way those idiots had something to do with 9/11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's also a theory.
What?
But there's also like, it's just this weird thing where it could go either way, and like you don't want to be too dismissive of because when people dismiss stuff as like conspiracy theory, I think that's kind of naive when you're like, oh, you think everything's like, you think it's a conspiracy. And it's like, why would that be so far-fetched that people who have power are abusing it and getting away with it consistently? And like it's like with the Epstein stuff, it's like, it's happening in front of our eyes, you know? And that Prince Andrew interview was live on television, a guy like floundering and trying to cover up the fact that he was like molesting kids. But then it all just kind of goes away. So, but there is a theory with conspiracy stuff where it's like people want explanations for stuff that is very random. So the whole thing with like the Kennedy assassination was such a big deal. People were like, there's no way that that's just a fucking lone gunman. There's no way that was just like a guy, you know, acting alone who killed the president and then everything else happened after that.
Yeah, I believe that because I'm like, Trump would be dead by now. If it was that easy.
Right. Yeah.
If it was that easy, Trump would be dead.
But the other thing with the Kennedy assassination too is like allegedly 37 people who were involved in that assassination like turned up dead afterwards. So there is sort of this like, there is this kind of paranoia where it's like I think they can do it and they can get away with it. And the Queen probably can kill her grandkid's daughter and nothing happens. And we'll never find
especially
out.
Because she wasn't anything. Like she didn't, you know, she was poor and didn't come from a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Diana? I think she was like, she came from royalty. Oh,
she did?
Yeah, her father was like
I guess I didn't watch the
video.
I thought she didn't.
Yeah.
I thought that's why she wasn't liked at all.
I think she did come from like wealth, but she was a little more like down to earth and well liked than.
Oh, for some reason I thought she didn't come from that, and so I was gonna say that would be easier to kill.
Yeah, you just made up that narrative in your head.
Yeah, I just made up that fact. But you know what? That's what conspiracy theorists do. I thought I said it with a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was the fourth of 5 children of John Spencer. The Spencer family had been closely allied with the British royal family for several generations. So she came from like a very.
So then why didn't they go after it?
I don't know, because there was the royals. I mean, Dodi Fayed's father did. He like tried to make a movie about it, but that got blocked from I think the legal team. So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
because that makes you think like, okay, why were they blocked? What do they have to hide if they're blocking something, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. And then, so there's another account. Here's a name that you guys could Google. The guy's name is John Paul James Anderson. And he was a guy, he was like a very wealthy photographer. And apparently on the night that she died, there was a white Fiat that went into the tunnel. No, it was seen leaving the tunnel, but it was never seen in the tunnel or going into it was never seen going into the tunnel or in the tunnel because the security cameras were off. Anyway, so this guy, so there were accounts that there were like eyewitness accounts that there was a white Fiat trailing Diana's car. And then there was this guy, Anderson, drove a white Fiat. He was also allegedly an agent or worked for MI6. And then in 2000, he was found in his car. He was found dead in his car, and his head was severed from his body. and they ruled it as suicide. So and
that's insane.
Now that's a name. Like, I wish I had more information, but
Are we
if
gonna
you
get
Google
murdered
it, there
for this
is a
podcast?
no. We're not going to get murdered because they don't even kill. I mean, that MI6 guy, the one that was a former spy, like, he's still alive. That would be pretty cool though if Queen Elizabeth killed us. Just knowing that that's how it ended.
Of AIDS.
Yeah, wouldn't that be sweet? Someone shows up like, the Queen says hello. Sorry, governor. End of the road. I have to run like it's a Disney movie from Queen Elizabeth's assassins. You've been saying bad things about the Queen on your podcast, have you, mate?
Jesus, your accent is straight up terrible.
No, but it could be better if I try. You're very negative, and that's probably why you're not in a relationship.
All right. Well, I have a date tomorrow, so.
Nice. And you said he's short or he's tall?
I don't know. I just know him from Instagram. He's cute though.
It'd be funny if another tall guy gave you herpes. I would laugh really hard.
Well, you can't get it twice, so.
No, but like another strain. some kind of mutant, like super strain. Like when you play a video game and you upgrade your weapons, you get like super herpes.
You have it. Have it.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Yes. Shut up.
You had it one time.
Yeah, I had it one time.
You have it for life. You have it for life.
Well,
you have it for life. So.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter because I'm with a beautiful woman who doesn't care. But anyway, so I'm gonna Google this guy. So anyway, but apparently there was a guy who, he drove a white Fiat. He was found with his head cut off in his car. But there's a big long article that I was able to find. Maybe I'll share a link to it in the description if I can. But there's this long description, or this long article about this guy and like who he worked for. He was like living in France or something, and he was going back and forth between like England and France, or he lived in Corsica or something, and then he got it. So then he also like got a job at some other private intelligence agency, and like that intelligence was raided by people, and like they took hostages, but people who were the hostages had, but my point is, you're reading all this stuff and you're just like, well, how do I even know if this is credible? Because this could literally just be like some guy on his computer. I mean, it said it was from some publication from like 2000, but who knows if it's just some bullshit, whatever.
Yeah,
some
how
little
did you
newsletter
find
that's
it?
going around.
Google?
I just Googled the guy's name, and and then it was let me see. John Paul James Anderson. Okay, here it is. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to send you this link. Here's the article. I'll have this but you'll see when you look at this article that like this article appears in the July 7th, 2000 issue of Executive Intelligence Review.
What the fuck is that?
Probably some defunct, like.
This doesn't even look real. This looks like a website I made in the 7th grade.
It doesn't look real, but I mean, it's written pretty well and it's pretty well detailed. So it's like, I would think that this is credible. This guy worked for a company called SEPA, and then they were raided on June 16th. I don't know. It doesn't even say the year though. Yeah. According to one of the hostages, the men were never concerned about the French police arriving at the scene. This hostage was convinced that the three burglars were themselves working for some brand of the French Secret Service. Furthermore, the source confirmed that Anderson had worked for French and undoubtedly British security agencies. So this guy was just this like very wealthy photographer that I guess was following her the night of and his car, like he was seen. I guess he was seen in the tunnel. Who fucking gives a shit? I don't know.
No, it's interesting because it's like, all this shit.
I'm gonna post a link to this in the description.
I do think this is a weird website.
Well, it's from It says this article appears in the July 7th, 2000 issue of Executive Intelligence Review.
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
I don't know.
It's like anyone could be on Wikipedia.
A weekly news magazine founded in 1974. Okay, so a weekly news magazine founded in 1974 by the American political activist Lyndon LaRouche. Oh, it's from Lyndon LaRouche. Okay. Okay, so this could all just be. This could just be it could just be a magazine for crazy people.
And you somehow got down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. In 2002, editor-in-chief for the Washington Times called Executive Intelligence Review an anti-Semitic potpourri of disinformation, factoids, rumor, gossip, Looney Tunes, and occasional fact. Okay, well, there's your answer right here. I guess the point is that, but okay, so maybe this is all just stuff from crazy people. At the same time, you do have to ask these questions.
No, I agree. And I think I didn't know that all the footage of the 6 cameras were turned off. That is like sketchy.
14. They were like 13 or 14.
And how often does that happen?
I don't know. But
like
you would think that
that's crazy.
You would think if they're there, they're on all the time.
Exactly. And for all 14 to be turned off, you're like, okay, immediately because that's the first thing in every movie, right? Where it's an inside job, you turn off the fucking cameras.
Yeah.
So for all the cameras to be off, you're like, well, that's step fucking 1 of criminal activity 101. Yeah. Turn off the cameras.
And in Jeffrey Epstein's cell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so did you watch the Jeffrey Epstein documentary?
I watched parts of it.
So did you see when they had the person who how do you say that?
Coroner?
Like coroner?
Coroner.
He analyzed Jeffrey Epstein's like jaw and shit. And he said it would have been impossible for him to kill himself.
Yeah.
Like that, it's like that is just overlooked.
Mm-hmm. No, a lot of this stuff is pretty out in the open. But I think...
What?
But I think for the public to actually care about it, it has to be like really spelled out. And then also to get people to do anything, it would be tough, you know?
It's true because we all have our own fucking problems. So
we all have our own problems.
What are we going to fucking do?
You're talking to some guy. I mean, if you found out tomorrow that like 9/11 was if there was definitive proof, if there was somebody on a phone call being like, we're going to knock the buildings down and blame it on Arabs, and there was definitive proof that they orchestrated 9/11, do you think people would even get out into the streets, or would people be like, oh yeah, that kind of sucks?
Yeah, I think it would be like, well, we have bigger problems, Trump.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But so when I went out with a 39-year-old who went to Harvard, brag, he went to school.
Yeah, you went out. Why, you went out with him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to school with Jared Kushner.
Like one date?
One date.
Nice.
I ended it.
It's a great brag.
I ended it.
It's a good brag.
I ended it. Anyway, he went to school with Jared Kushner, and he was telling me that Jared Kushner fucked dudes.
Mm-hmm.
He also roofied multiple people because he was like bisexual, so he would rape women and rape dudes, and is a straight up evil person. And I was like, this is like so horrible for my mind because I know the Trumps are evil, but I've always justified it like the media makes it worse in my head.
Yeah.
So I can sleep at night.
Yeah.
But then going on a date with this guy, I was just like, holy shit. Like, he's a straight up evil person.
Uh-huh.
So it made it like 10 times worse. Just knowing that like Jared Kushner rapes people.
Yeah.
Or raped people in college and is like, you know, the theory of like Jared Kushner's gay with his weird thing with his hairdresser.
Is that a theory?
Yeah, it's a theory. Which I had heard like once.
Where does it come from?
Just like people are like, oh, he had an affair with his hairdresser.
Oh.
And
I like that this podcast has just turned into us.
No, but what I'm saying is like
speculating on who's gay.
I know, but what I'm saying is Jared Kushner, like him being gay, is like just like a weird tabloid. It seems like a weird tabloid thing, right? Like everyone's like, oh, this is the tabloids are trying to sell articles. And then I met someone who knows him, who knows he fucks guys. And it's like suddenly it makes everything seem like, oh, like we ignore we ignore what a lot of the media publishes because a lot of it is fake, but like, you know what I
They're also
mean? Not
not
that,
reporting a lot of stuff.
yeah. What I'm
But also
saying is
imagine
like,
being a guy that got raped by Jared Kushner. You're like, yeah, people would think you're crazy if you came out and tried to make it public or something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that makes me believe in conspiracies more, being like, oh, there's like more to a lot of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, how many times do you lie to yourself a day, right? Like, you're like, oh, I've only like done whatever, like the worst thing you've done, you can like dumb it down in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we can only imagine what like horrible people do and then lie to
Yeah,
the
and then
public
rationalize
about.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, rationalize and lie about.
Yeah. I know my landlord promised me $2,400 to move out of my place early, my former landlord, and then he like didn't pay for like 5 months, and then just last week I got a check for $1,500.
Wait.
I was
Oh,
offered $2,400 to break my lease early, and then he
uh,
didn't pay, and then he paid me 50. He just recently paid me $1,500, like almost 6 months later.
that's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway.
it's, I mean, that's like a very small issue, but
Yeah, it's not a big $1,000. Not really a big deal to me.
yeah, you have it in your savings account, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is like, even if, I don't know, I guess I don't like to go deep down because it makes me so depressed. Like,
Yeah.
the more information I get about like the truth of our like world, it's so depressing.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of do believe she was murdered.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at this magazine, Executive Intelligence Review, and it's literally on the cover of it. There's a picture of Obama and Hitler, like chatting. Like it's obviously
Yeah.
photoshopped, but it's like
Yeah.
Hitler giggling with Obama.
Okay, and this is your main source?
No, that's my source for that one article that I quoted. So I guess that's not a very credible paper, which I will agree. But it's like, but just because something is coming from a crazy person or seems implausible doesn't mean, I don't think that means you shouldn't like follow it. But I think you also have to have a healthy, I don't think anybody, here's the thing. I don't think anybody ever finds this balance of like enough of a healthy enough like crank and conspiracy person and a healthy enough like, oh no, everything's fine. Like I was on Twitter today and I was looking at some tweets of people that I follow that were quote tweeted by other people that I like don't follow. So like the kind of the other side of the argument. And those people looked pretty rational when they were critiquing people
Well,
that
can you
I
give me an
follow.
example? Because I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. So like there's a guy who's like a prominent like socialist account, and people were sort of making the case that he was being like dishonest. And because the guy's like, I sort of trust this guy because he sort of thinks like me. What I'm saying is you never know. You never really know how to approach. You don't want to be too far in one direction, I guess is the point I'm making.
Well, no, I agree with that because it's like, that's why Joe Biden got elected, right? Because like my conspiracy theory that I believe now is that Joe Biden has dementia.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have him.
Well, I don't know. That's a conspiracy theory. It's pretty
yeah, but what I'm saying is
everybody
like, I think the
that.
Democratic Party put him up because he's the closest to the middle. And then he's going to step down and then Kamala Harris is going to be president. That's my theory. If he wins. Yeah. But they wanted to have Joe Biden as the face so that because he's closest to the middle.
What does that mean, the middle?
Like, he's an old white man, so he's not a socialist. Well, I guess Bernie is, but like, he's not a socialist. He's not gonna like.
What's wrong with being a socialist?
Billionaires and people who have like make $75,000 a year think they're gonna lose all their taxes. Like, you trust a white dude who's old to know that your money's not gonna be taken. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I just think like people use like or he's not gonna make it so that, I don't know, he's just not like a super liberal guy. So people aren't worried about life changing so much or rapidly, or our whole economy's not going to change.
Yeah.
So because that's the whole thing with like trust, right? So like,
I just think that's kind of a myth, though. That
What do
like
you mean?
there's a myth that, and I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there's a myth that like Bernie Sanders is so radical, and I think that like he does advocate for policies that would benefit most people, and the
Yes.
establishment just hates Bernie so much. But
Yes,
those were
yes,
like,
but what I'm saying is it's a lot of change and people can't accept change. So they
mm-hmm.
want to find someone who's like most like them and like so that they can
Just want to
connect.
ease into, yeah.
Yeah, and they can be like, "Oh, he gets me," blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I forget how we got here, but my
Yeah,
point
that's all right.
is you don't want someone who's like so different from you.
Right.
Because then you feel like you understand how they think, so you trust them more. I guess
Right.
that's what it is. You like trust what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, we don't have you know what I mean? Like shit's look at this year, like we're in control of nothing clearly.
Yeah. Right. Right. Because there's also a so I was watching this like John Oliver video about, this is probably the last thing I'll say and we'll wrap up, but I was watching this John Oliver video about conspiracy theories, and they were like, people look for stuff with big events, like with the JFK assassination, with Princess Diana's death, with 9/11, and they want to explain it. Because like people didn't look for conspiracies when Ronald Reagan got shot because he lived, and it didn't really like fundamentally alter the course of human history. And maybe there could have been just as many, like maybe if Reagan had died, there would have been just as many theories about that, but people don't look into it.
That's interesting. But that's what I mean is because you.
But you can't be a simp. You can't be a simp and be like, oh, you think this is another? You think it's the deep state? You know, you can't just dismiss any critique of power.
No, I totally agree with that, because that's why you look at Trumpers and you're like, oh, you're fully crazy. Because like I'm not even like, I am liberal. I guess I can say that. I don't know, your fans I'm sure or not, but also a lot of my family is not.
What do you think my fans are? Just like a bunch of like plumbers from Long Island?
No, I just
like,
think
that money's mine.
I just
keep
think
your fucking hands off my money.
My dad gets so annoyed because he's like, you're such a flaming fucking liberal, but I'm really not. Like, flaming liberals annoy the shit out of me.
Why does he think you're flaming liberal?
Because I'll say shit like, I don't know, like, my dad's just like, I'll be like, that's racist, Dad, you can't say that. And he'll like, you're just a flaming liberal. When he's not, my dad is not racist, but he'll say things.
He's just in full blackface. Like, and you're like, Dad.
My dad is not racist, but
why are you such a snowflake?
He's just like not sensitive to like how you address things. He's just not a sensitive person, I guess. He's not racist. My dad's not, but he's not sensitive to people.
Yeah.
And so
I guess when you have kids, it's not, though. It makes you like that way.
He just thinks that we're all getting so fucking soft. But so then I'll be like, you need to be more empathetic, which is a lot coming from me. I'm like, you need to be more empathetic. You need to really look at the other side. So that's why my dad calls me a flaming liberal.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, it's just like watching people follow Trump is like, that to me is a simp. Because I'm like, you're not questioning anything he's saying. He's saying nothing. And people are like, yeah. Like they cheer for him saying nothing. And that is so scary to watch.
Yeah.
So it makes you question a lot of things. It makes you question everything, right?
Yeah. And I guess just keep questioning, folks. That's our message for you. Keep questioning, keep watching, keep going down YouTube wormholes at 4 a.m. Keep watching cartoon videos about Princess Diana, things which happened, 23 years ago.
Sorry, did I get too off topic?
No, it was good. I mean, I don't know if this is good or not. Who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows anymore? But yeah. So that's our show for the week. Follow Hannah. Check out her podcast. Call Your Mom. Don't Tell Mom.
Jesus Christ.
Follow Hannah on social media at Hans Dickey. And support me on Patreon if you can. We do a show 6 days a week over on Patreon, about 20 minutes a day. And I'm getting married in like 2 weeks. So why don't you guys send me a wedding present? Venmo me, huh? Michael-Racine-2 if you like the show.
Wait, you're getting married in 2 weeks?
September 18th.
Woo, baby, that's less than 2 weeks. That's 1 fucking week.
I know. I'm not eating any carbs because I'm trying to drop a couple pounds. And I'm very out of it. You know, when you don't eat carbs, your brain stops functioning.
I've never had that experience in my life.
Oh, because you eat carbs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for listening,
everybody. Am I invited to the wedding or no?
You can come if you want. It's going to be like 20 people. You can stop by like late at night, I guess. We rented a townhouse in Bushwick.
Why does every guy say that to me?
What?
You can stop by later at night, I guess.
Because you're not my grandparents aren't coming. I don't know. I think your standards are too high.
Okay, I'm going to send you the Instagram of the guy I'm going out with, but he didn't respond to my text.
Sweet.
So.
All right, that's the show, everybody. And then we can chat after. All right, bye-bye.